I got to tell you, for all the years that I've talked about news and now these days, like talking about how we handle the news, right? How you deal with all this crap. I never thought, this is the biggest surprise of all, I never thought the people with the best senses of humor would have come from the Republican team over there. Like you would think like the Democrats would be the funniest, right? They got all the good writers, the actors, the comedians. I never thought in this big switch we always talk about, I never thought it was the people who have an R next to their name. And yeah, a lot of them are politicians because they're making a lot of news these days, are the funniest. Today's lesson, kids, is Governor Greg Abbott leaning into the insult joke that was thrown at him. This is one of my favorite stories of the week so far. This is fantastic. He took ownership of this in a couple of days, and it is just fantastic. You know, over the Governor Hot Wheels thing. I mean, it's like, we should all use that tactic. Fantastic. Plus, don't usually recommend a lot of interviews to check out, but man, you got to see this Bret Baier interview with the Doge team. It's Elon and then they're calling them the nerds, and I think they kind of own that too. They love being called nerds. That are what you realize in the interview, and they should have done this months ago, but they were a little bit busy, is explaining the sacrifice they've made to try to clean all this stuff up. And that interview was, and it's posted everywhere now. It's amazing and revealing. A couple of the things that stood out to me was how patriotic they are, and I'll talk about that in a second too. Also, it's time to just mock, if we haven't already, these Tesla vandals. Don't feel bad in saying it, because they are the dumbest criminals of all time. How stupid would you have to be to vandalize a Tesla at this stage in the game? Like you're not going to be recorded? What do you hear the latest arrest in that one? Oh, and they arrested the guy that firebombed the Tesla dealership in Vegas too. Gee, no surprise there what that guy's all about. But with all that said, most importantly, the only thing that really matters right now, right here and now, is it's Friday. What a week. We made it through. I hope you have an awesome weekend. And thanks for finding me. You can always catch up on this stuff, and the audio podcast is right there, wherever you like to get your podcasts. I usually post just a couple of minutes after the live stream. And put your notifications on for if you're a follower on X and YouTube and Facebook and all that good stuff. All right, let's get to it. Let's get right to it. You ready? I love this. Well, one of the big stories, we talked about her, unfortunately, way too much these days, but she's making news. Somebody pointed out to me yesterday something brilliant. So this Jasmine Crockett, I know it's Jasmine, I call her Jasmine, from Texas. You know, we pointed out a couple of days ago, was it yesterday or was it the day before? She has a fake accent. She's actually from a very affluent background in St. Louis, moves to Texas, and all of a sudden runs as, this is her description, this isn't coming, don't get mad at me, the ghetto queen congresswoman. You know, she's got all the insults. Now she has personal armed security in the halls of Congress. She's insulted people. Well, you remember this from the other day. This was big news this week, where she threw this insult at Texas Governor Greg Abbott. She's from the San Antonio district, and he's the governor of Texas. We know he's in a wheelchair, which, a little refresher. Let's remember what she said here.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Guy's been paralyzed from the waist down since his early 20s. It was an accident, you know, and that's, you know, well, that's her. And nobody said, well, yeah, I can't believe that she said that. Nobody said that. It was like right par for the course, right onto it. Well, now, as what always happens, you get a chance to respond, right? And his first response yesterday was kind of like the politic-y thing. You know, this is what a governor would say. This is the right thing to do. This is taking your media opportunity and saying the right talking points, right? And this is kind of the boring part before it gets into the good part, which was a visual. Here's the politician response to
are leading the way, and with comments like this by Democrats, we will just leave them in the dust in future elections.
All right, yeah, it's fine. He's got to say that, right? He's the governor of the state of Texas, a massive job, right? It's huge. He has to say that. He has to turn it around, and the official response is, well, they can keep throwing their insults, and we're just going to keep creating technology and jobs and keeping our citizens safe, blah, blah, blah. But fine. It would have been fine. It would have been a good response if he just left it right there. But oh, no. Oh, no. It got way better. He leaned into the joke, as they say, which is just another way of saying you take the insult, and this is just like in our personal lives too, right? You're joking around with your friends or an enemy. They insult you somehow with a joke. Instead of shying away from it or getting all mad and getting all defensive, you take that joke and you take that insult and you own it. You lean into it, and you've won. You come out the winner. So here's what he did. Now, this is the weird part of the story. So I don't know if you're familiar with Antonio Brown, AB. Unbelievable follow on X. He's incredible. It's fantastic. So he does this thing. He's a former football player, went a little bit nuts at the end there, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there. So he nominates every single day a cracker of the day. and he made Greg Abbott the cracker of the day yesterday. But he happened to put, and I know this is a visual, but you're going to see it everywhere today. Everybody's going to be sharing it if you haven't seen it already. But he put a picture of Governor Greg Abbott in his wheelchair in a superhero costume. It might even be an X-Men thing. I'm not too sure, but he called him the cracker of the day. Okay, so that's pretty cool. What makes it awesome? What the winning strategy is, right? Governor Greg Abbott takes that, he reposts it, and what does he say? This is from the Texas governor with the picture of him in the wheelchair in the superhero outfit. Got to add this to my resume. Need the outfit. They see me rolling. That's so freaking awesome. I never expected to become such a fan of Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Policy-wise, he's been pretty good for a while, but that right there, that just made me a super fan of his, and I'm not alone. Because once you take ownership of the joke and you lean into it like that, Jasmine Crockett didn't win with her insult calling him Governor Hot Wheels because he handled it in such a cool way. He won. Lean into the joke and own it when somebody insults you like that. That is so freaking good. My God, is that awesome. They see me rolling. All right. Got to recommend a lot of media stuff for interviews for you to go check out. If you didn't see it live, it's posted everywhere right now. It's a little bit long. I think it's exactly a half hour. But if you look at the online version, you can see it without all the commercials. But Bret Baier from Fox did an interview with not the entire Doge team, but most of the leadership of the Doge team. And maybe you saw this already, but it's so good. My first thought was, man, I wish they did this a couple of weeks ago. And I caught myself and I said, well, they've been a little freaking busy, Bill, cleaning up the government and saving the country. They didn't have time to do this, but it was so key to do right now, again, to get ahead of the story, to explain what they do. And they explained all the corruption they've caught, the fraud, and not only the waste. I mean, it goes right to corruption and the things that surprise them. Elon's there with a bunch of other, leaders, a lot of them from tech industry. What struck me was how much sacrifice all of them, every single one of them, have made to get this thing done. All leaders of industry, they all have lives, and they're all now on camera in a very public way. Literally, and I mean this literally, putting their lives at risk because of the lunatics that are out there, the useful tools of the fraudsters and the criminals and the crooks who want to stop Doge's efforts to clean up the country. We all know why. It's obvious now. That's nothing shocking to say. It's because they want to keep their gravy train rolling. That's why they want to stop it. That's why they're in such panic mode. So they're all out there, and they talked about all the stuff that they've found so far. One of them was, I can't remember which one of them on the team, and then there was like 6 of them there with Elon. And they said, it was the guy looking in his Social Security. And they said, one of the first things we found was 40% of the calls that go into the Social Security Administration that those people, good workers, good, fine people, have to deal with is fraud. People trying to rip off other Social Security numbers. 40% of them, the calls coming in. I guess the government computers don't talk to each other, and that's one of the things they're fixing. They gave all these examples of things that they're catching, which is shocking enough. But here's what struck me, and this is why I think it was so important to do this and why they got the message across. At one point, and Bret Baier did a great interview. He had some great questions on here. I give him full credit for this. He asked them why. Like, why are you doing this? One of the guys, they all had their answers. One of the guys that had the best answer was Taylor Hassan. I'm not exactly sure which companies he came from or why he was picked for the team. But now he's the guy working with the Department of the Interior and Governor Greg Burgum there, Doug Burgum. He's now the secretary of that department, whatever. And he had a great explanation on why he's actually doing this. And I thought it was fantastic. This is Taylor Hassan last night.
Last thing, do you guys all see this as a patriotic duty? I mean, is that really what this is about?
It's essential.
Very much so. I do, 100%. I was running 5 businesses in Houston, and I left that. I left great people to do this. And my wonderful wife said, go for it. And here I am. But I feel like this is me giving back to the country.
If we don't do this, we're sunk. The ship, unless this exercise is successful, the ship of America will sink.
It's pretty amazing right there. First of all, how Elon wrapped it up. That this country is going to fail. It just will do it, probably by our grandkids, if not before, because of this debt. It's just, we're sinking. But a lot of these politicians who are, skimming off the top in this and who are benefiting from this, they'll be dead, so they don't care. They literally don't care. That's why it's taking such an effort to be able to do this. So especially after this interview, when they explain that, when you hear people fighting against Doge, they're paid protesters, useful idiots, run by just a handful of incredibly powerful politicians because they want to keep the gravy train going. Oh, and they went on to talk about these NGOs, these non-government organizations, and how many people close to family members, spouses, brothers, sisters of these politicians that are running these non-government agencies, right? So that's the scam. So they work with the politicians to get voted into funding that go to these NGOs, and they skim off the top. It's exactly what it is. It sounds so simplified, right? Bill, that can't be it. You're really simplifying a complicated issue. No, I'm not, because that's what it is. That's how this grift has worked for now 60, 70 years. Is that when it got really, really bad about that? So this Herculean effort to try to clean it up is doing it, and you hear their reasons why, and they all had reasons. I just picked Tyler Hassen's reason why, because he talked about the sacrifice, right? Sacrifice his businesses, his family life, like they all have, to actually do this. So the next time you run into some hapless idiot at work or in your life or anything else like this, point him to this interview. Well, what they're doing is very, very frightening, and it's concerning, it's very upsetting. Really? So you'd rather have this country falling apart and absolutely no future for our kids or grandkids than what these guys, these handful of guys, God love them, patriots, are doing for our country right now. And they are patriots. Now, here's what really struck me. Elon wraps it up. I think the most consequential statement of the entire interview, and I would check this entire thing out. It got really good at the end. Elon called it, reframe this in your head, if this is even upsetting to you, right? Reframe this in your head as the Second American Revolution. Kind of makes sense when you think about it. We had the first. We had to fight the Brits. We beat King George's army with like 11 farmers hiding behind trees. That's what it took back in the day, almost 250 years ago. Now, it should not surprise you that the next revolution is fighting against the fraud within our country. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. This is how he described it, and I think it was absolutely perfect.
Well, this is a revolution, and I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent. The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future.
So, yes, it is. And they did. That's what I liked about it, too. They also said, and the big question came up, good question from Brett Barrett. He said, yeah, but what about you have a lot of people who are very afraid, older people, who are afraid that their Social Security is going to be taken away by this because of the misinformation and the propaganda that's been sent out in the news, right? He explained very well that, no, they're going to benefit from this. And Elon said, mark my words, they're going to benefit from this, and this is going to help out seniors, and they're actually going to get their money instead of having it stolen from them. Reframe it. Even if you're upset about this, you're a little bit afraid of change, reframe it. This is a revolution. It's the American Revolution. It's a quieter one, but no less important than what we did a couple of 100 years ago, 250 years ago. That's what it is. And when you have people who will tell you that these people, Doge, they're just, look what, how about this one? Remember this? Elon wants your Social Security number. Really? Really? You really believe that? So here's your answer after they explained it right here. Why do we need this Doge? Because the country's going to fail without it. And that's it. And if you want to, point him to this interview. I explained all of it right there. And by the way, here's another fact. I think I've talked about this before, but this blows me away. Whenever I see people fighting against progress and things like this, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of people who don't want them to do that because they're happier with the corruption they know. I've seen this quoted a couple of times, and I first heard this from a history professor, believe it or not, way back in the day, in the 90s. He said the American Revolution, we were all told in the history books, everybody's like, yeah, fight the British, yeah. No, they think, at least in the New England states, in the colonies, too, they think it was only about 20% of the population was in favor of that, of fighting the British and becoming independent. About 80% was just like you see right now, just like you see it. They were getting, well, it's a little upsetting. We don't want to go through that kind of change. Okay, then you're going to lose your country. There you go. There's your choice. You reframe this. You start thinking about what these guys, and I'll call them patriots, what they're doing. You call this a revolution. Makes a hell. I'll leave it at that. But check out the interview. It's really good. All right, we got to talk about these Tesla vandals. First of all, it's a big news story yesterday. They busted the guy that firebombed the Vegas Tesla dealership. Remember that from last week? Firebombed it. Turns out he's what's the description? I forget his name, but pro-Palestinian communist. This was the FBI description. Gee, there's a shocker. Gee, I'm shocked at that guy's background. Okay, well, they caught him. It didn't take too long. But how about the other people? How about all these other vandals? One of the most entertaining stories from this week was that masshole, the guy from Massachusetts who was at the ski resort in New Hampshire, that was caught on camera, of course, like they all are, because the Cybertrucks have cameras, you idiots, keying the truck, and then the property owners had the video that showed the cop is looking at him key the truck, and he denied it. That was one of them. And this is why I say and that's a wealthy guy too, by the way. So the backgrounds don't matter. Despite their education or what their jobs are or how much money they have, these are the stupidest criminals I've ever heard of. And here's another one that they caught. Check this lady out. Another one caught on video because they freaking have video on them, you idiots. This is Colin Rugg, great ex-follow, by the way. Colin Rugg for an independent journalist. It says the Karen who was seen keying a Tesla in Washington State has been identified. They are identifying all of them. You realize this, right? And they're going to throw the book at them. They will. 55-year-old millionaire Camelia Ensler. The Daily Mail had the story, too. She got out of her car and slashed the Tesla. She's married to DocuSign engineer Jeff Ensler, and she owns a fitness company, and they have a $1.5 million home in Seattle. Malicious mischief in the third-degree charge thrown at her. I thought it was actually going to be more, but apparently the owner is going to stick with the charges. These are the dumbest people, the dumbest criminals I think I've ever seen in my life. Like, who didn't even realize? I don't even have a Tesla. When they came out with the Cybertruck, even I in my pea brain knew they all have cameras. And like, you think any Tesla owners don't have their cameras on right now? Man, are they dumb. But you know what? I'm glad they're dumb. Good. The takeaway? Somebody throws an insult joke at you, don't shy away from it, and don't get all pissy. Own it, and you come out the winner. I love Governor Greg Abbott for that. I absolutely love it. And don't take any crap from anybody. Ever. Always. And find the audio podcast, too. That'll be posted here in just a couple of minutes. Wherever you like to get your podcast, so that'll be on right there. And those numbers keep going up, so people like audio. Okay. I'm down with it. And thank you very much for that, too. And this is a replay on X and YouTube and Facebook as well. Most important thing is, have a wicked awesome weekend. Who the heck knows what's going to happen? But be safe and have fun. We'll talk to you on Monday.